Hello everyone, today it's me, Sansalie, and I'm going over my deck profile for my top 16 at Dallas 2025 Opens over last tours. This weekend I came with a modified Lunar Aggro. If y'all don't know what Lunar Aggro is, well, it's a Lunar strategy that involves usually playing around a Rare Pup package and a Nobby package. So we'll start off by doing a rundown of, our main Illustrals in the deck. To start us off, we have the Wee Ass Rabbit, Funny Bunny, best card in the game, obviously. We're on 3 Rabbit, we're on 1 Ellie Chicken, to switch your divines. Next up, we're on 3 Edward. A solid ratio of Edwards. And this is pretty much your good stuff type to ball. A lot of decks are going to be on this core of cards if they can fit them in, so pretty self-explanatory, Starting off our Lunar cards, we are on 3 Spectaris. Spectaris, honestly one of my MVPs for the weekend, and a really good tech card for any matchup. I'm on 3 just cause, he's essentially a 5 and he's good into a lot of different decks. You see him into Foamy, he deals with Galaxy, he deals with Visoris, he deals with other Spectaris, he deals with Cathnell. Overall just great situational card. When it comes to our packages, obviously we're going to be on Nobby. We're on 3 Nobby, so we have a standard ratio of 3 Nobby to 1 Dorkgate, of course. Where we deviate a little bit from the norm, not by very much, is when we get into our Lunar Phase package. You'll see a lot of Lunar Aggro decks on 3 Rare Pup. We're actually only on 2 Rare Pup. The one like a Void, and we'll be on 2 Lunar Phase Full Moon. I've played lists with 3 Rare Pup, and I just decided on the ratio of 2 solely because I just don't like having the 3rd Rare Pup after you've already used Full Moons. Of course, you can use the argument that you want to have the 3rd one in case one of your Rare Pups gets Gorgon's Gaze. I understand the argument for that, but my deck kind of just doesn't do that. It does something a little different. And so, this is kind of the source of the list, where we're on something completely different than everyone else's. We're on 2 Cathnell. We'll come back to this card in a little bit to explain. But this is kind of my key to making sure we can go with the playstyle I take with this deck. It's very low to the ground, very run and gun. Take it back to simple at times. In a long tournament run, over several rounds, I want to be looking for consistency. I also want to be looking for simplicity. I don't want to use too much brain power too early into the tournament, so playing a more kind of 5-Centrix type deck gets us to a point where, you don't have to be thinking too hard on your decisions. When it comes to our runes, honestly, the MVP of the weekend, I am on 3 Cryoblast in the main. It's an extremely high ratio of Cryoblast, but within round 1, I resolved 4 Cryoblast across my 2 matches, and it plays great into the mirror. If they have a Rare Pup on field, you just Cryoblast the Rare Pup. It plays great into fights. You just Cryoblast the Red Bull, Cryoblast the Visoris, etc. It plays great into Solar. You just Cryoblast, the Lunar. Outside of specifically the Frost matchup and some Earth cards and a couple Water cards, I'm looking at you, Galaxy. This is an overall great card. So I personally just like it at 3 for this deck, just to have the removal coming, Of course, we have, the classic Divine that you'll see a lot of Lunar decks on, with the exception of the Lunar Earth Temple. Zeus is just a really good Divine. Honestly, I'm surprised they haven't touched this card very much. Outside of the short limitation, but it is what it is, And after your standard Cryoblast and Zeus, we're gonna be taking a look at our back row. if you count Lunar Phase full moon, we're on about 11 or 12 back row. So we have 3 working days. And then we're on 2 tsunami. We are on 2 PTA. And we are on 2 shield. In order to fit Fire Blast into the main, I had to kind of choose between dropping one of our other back rolls because we have to have at least 2 Lunar Phase full moon. So that's why we ended up on this ratio. It's a little light, but that's just for game 1. Going into game 2 and 3 to say, you obviously have a lot more room for, you know, fitting in any more counter runes and filling up your overall back row suite. As most decks in the format are on, not every single one. We're on 3 Ambrosia, we're on 1 Blurbles, and we are on 1 Earthquake. Pretty standard layout. That's pretty much your main deck. The thought process in a lot of these was pretty straightforward. You'd expect it for any Celestials deck. For the side deck, let's start first on our runes. So, there's certain runes in the side deck that I definitely wanted to make space for. We are on 2 Hurricane and the matching Wind Spirit to fit in Hurricane. Just because, I feel like when you're on Nobby, Hurricane is a good card to see, just so you can clear the back row to ensure that Nobby can make the push with Doppelganger. And since we're on Thunder and Water anyway, since we're on Rabbit and Edward, you know, it's not a bad card to have in the side. We have a 3rd Tsunami for matchups that, you know, you kind of want Tsunami more than others. Of course, obviously you tag out Tsunami if you're playing into Water. And we were on our 3rd copy of Shield. We don't have a 3rd copy of PTA because the side deck is really tight. We're on 2 Waxing Gibbous. This is the Lunar Phase that targets a Lunar enchanted Celestial and switches their position. Pretty straightforward, you use this a lot in the mirror. You know, gets a lot of value on targeting your own Celestials and your opponents. You do have to respect heal decks a little bit. Spoil Fruit, I like having 2. It never really came up during the tournament run, but I would prefer playing Spoil Fruit over Divine Blessing just because I feel like I have other tools in my main and side to deal with Blizztwix. So Spoil Fruit is kind of my answer to dealing with, you know, heal store decks. So we'll talk a little bit about that later when we round back to Cathio. So those are the runes and spirits in our side. When it comes to the Celestials, the guys who are running in the side, we're on 2 Galaxy. There was a period of time where I considered in the main having 2 Spectaris, 2 Edward, and 2 Galaxy. I decided that I'm gonna put Galaxy on the side. Just because, like, you know, if I'm into Water, then we can side in the Galaxy. The first game, I'm playing a much different game plan, blind into my opponent, than I am going to be playing a post-side type game. So I think 2 is a good ratio for Whale in this deck, especially when you're only on, you'll see later for my spirits. We're only on 4 Water. So taking up our side deck slots, we have a little Thunder package. We have Quackle, we have Orcolith, and we have 2 Boombats. Boombat is your answer to any deck that kind of just summons a big towers that you can't really get into, so it's a good answer to Blizztwix. It's a good answer to any matchup that you also want more removal. So if I'm playing into like another 5 style deck, Boombat is sometimes a good option. And anytime you have 4 to 5 Thunder Spirits, Quackle is honestly not that bad of a side deck card. It helps me in a grind game a lot, so if I'm into another 5 deck, sometimes even into the mirror, having the Quackle to make sure that you can resolve the second copy of Zeus without needing to worry about either conserving your Thunder Spirits or making sure you have Ambrosia goes a long way. And Quackle and Orcolith are like a cute little package, you know. if it is a kind of game that I feel like either becomes like a grind game or like I know my opponent will be playing really aggro, the one copy of Orcalyph does come in handy sometimes, and honestly a worst case scenario, you're just hard to send into the Orcalyph. You know. One of my favorite cards to be putting into the side deck. So again, for our spirits in our main deck, we're on the 1 solar. That's for the calf mill. To make space for the 1 solar, we went down from what was 7 lunar spirits to 6 lunar spirits. So, heading back over to what we were saying between the Quackle and the calf mills. This deck can get really expensive really fast. That's just the nature of like a deck that plays aggressive, a deck that's like running through a lot of spirits. Here's our 4 thunder. 5 thunder, I mean. 5 thunder. We got our 4 water. We're on 2 frost, 2 earth. It's 2 frost to match the 3 cryoblast. But I also just like having the option of frost enchanting whenever, you know, I feel like my opponent might have cryoblast. So, running the 1 solar spirit for calf mill is really helpful because you're able to use your lunar spirits earlier in the game without feeling like you can't resolve either Norbert or Full Moon without having Ambrosia. It's one of the few cards in the game that can recur lunar spirits. So all you need is really just the 1 solar. You can either ascend over the calf mill to get the heal back on the lunar, or you know, like you summon calf mill and your opponent just decides to take it out. Obviously, if they have like a suppression card, it is what it is, but they do have to answer calf mill in a worst case scenario. And if they don't answer the calf mill, it does give you the opportunity to just ascend over it. And a lot of times in this deck, you'll be running out, like example, Eddie with a lunar spirit. You're not even properly enchanting him. So you could just ascend over the calf mill with any spirit of your choice. Whether it's a water spirit to make sure everyone can use his effect, or whichever you choose, and pop the effect of calf mill. And with calf mill and Quackle combined, I feel like it gives you a good edge into like any of the heal decks too. You're able to keep pace with them because you're playing really aggressive, but you have something to fall back on. And going into a major tournament like Dallas, I wasn't super confident in my ability to play Lunar Aggro? I know, that's a funny statement, but overall, being on the 2 calf mill in the main, and the only reason why the Quackle didn't make it into the main is because I wanted to run the 3rd cryoblast. There's a world where Quackle makes it into the main, and the only reason why Quackle's not in the main is because certain matchups such as like Blistrix, or any kind of like deck that ascends, like photosynthesis or anything with a big game plan like that, I can't give my opponent the room to get to their ascension. Playing Quackle is a little too slow sometimes into those decks, so at least for game 1 so I have a better idea what they're on. If I just blindly see an ascension deck, I'd rather just go all gas, no brakes, and just go hard on the Lunar Aggro. Quackle's great into the grind games into the meal. It's great into anytime I feel like I'll need to use Zeus more than once. Quackle's great to have. And because Quackle recurs your Thunder Spirits and Calf-Mill recurs your Lunar Spirits, it allows you to hold on to some of your other spirits a bit more. And it makes the deck more forgiving to play. Over a long course of 8 rounds, you're looking for consistency. You're looking for making sure you have the right cards for each matchup, and you're also looking to play as well as you can. And if you do make a mistake, having a couple of these cards does make the game a little bit more forgiving, because when you're neck and neck with your opponent, being able to take a turn to Quackle as opposed to maybe expend to draw, sending over a Calf-Mill, just playing out a Calf-Mill can go a long way. That's a 3 spirit differential, and when you're down to less than 5 spirits, that's a lot. So in kind of going back and forth between all these deck lists to see what I landed on, I landed on the 2 Kathmo in the main just because I didn't feel super confident with my deck list. So I need something a little bit more forgiving. Particularly Lunar Aggro. Why I decided to run with it is because the spirits in itself, assuming, this is the 7th Lunar spirit, the spirit list is super comfy. 5 Thunder is a super great number of thunder. It lets you resolve Ask Rabbit, it lets you resolve Zeus, lets you resolve Electric, no problem. Obviously, you're always going to have 2 for the Earthquake. And with being on, 3 Edward, 2 Tsunami, it's a good amount of water too. I like the option of 2 Frost Spirits, so you can Force Enchant to play around your opponent's Cryoblast, and having 7 Lunar just allows you to enchant more with Lunar Phase. It allows you to do more with Lunar Phase overall. And so having tools like Crackle and Kathmo makes it so that you'll be able to use your Lunar and Thunder Spirits without needing to rely on Ambrosia. Ambrosia is a great card, and a lot of people save it until, they need to use certain cards. So it lets me hang on to a couple more of our more important spirits, such as Water or Earth spirits, before I have to start sending them to the Underworld, because I won't be able to get those back without Ambrosia. But with Kathmo and Crackle, now I have 2 chances to get those spirits back, and it makes it a little bit easier to pick and choose which ones you want to recur and which ones you want to expend. Just cause, you're not always gonna see Ambrosia every single game. But theoretically, if you're on Kathmo and you want 3 Ambrosia, you expect to resolve about 2 Ambrosias worth of spirits each game on average. Obviously, you don't always see the Kathmo, and maybe they go against the Kathmo, maybe they have Spectaris, maybe you swing with the Kathmo, and they decide to shield, so now you've lost your Solar Spirit. However which way it plays out, the deck worked really well for me. So, shoutouts to my testing group, the Penthouse. Shout out to Q, congrats on winning first. Shoutouts to Ori, congrats on being third. Shoutouts to Rybot. Shoutouts to Adam Flasher Doomadam. I wouldn't have figured out this list without them. And I'm honestly on 3 Cryoblast because I respect Solar a little bit too much because of testing into these folks, so. And after playing into Tornagin so many times, I realized that, Kathmo goes crazy. And I'm on Lunar anyway, so I might as well. Some fun things I do like to do with this, spirit setup is, the common thing that I'll do is, we'll go a Force Enchanted either Spectaris or Norby. And if I happen to open with Full Moon in my starting hand, a lot of people don't like opening on Full Moon, because what do you do with it when you don't have Rare Pop? So I'll Force Enchant, one of our Lunar Celestials, just so it doesn't get Cryoblasted. Then in the battle phase, after your opponent declares an attack into you, if you if you activate Lunar Phase Full Moon, you can go ahead and properly enchant, your guy. And that makes a big difference in some games. Norby's effect of being able to give an attacking Celestial, or just any Celestial on the field that's not Solar or Lunar, -2 attack can help a lot. If, let's say, they win out Galaxy to try to run over your Frost Enchanted Spectaris, that takes out the Galaxy. If they just ran out of 4, they didn't bother, reducing the attack on Spectaris or Norby, that goes a long way too. And after you properly enchant the Norby, if they've destroyed your opponent's Celestial, you gotta bring out Doppelganger now, and hopefully your opponent has only been sitting 1 back over turn. And there's nothing they can do to stop your Doppelganger from coming out, now that you've properly enchanted it with, Lunar Phase Full Moon. So now you have a 3-spirit Doppelganger potentially on the field. And you're going to at least have it for 1 turn. They might have, some kind of back row to answer the attack, but you're going to at least have it on your turn, instead of waiting for, your opponent's entire turn to see if they have an out to it via some kind of invoke. So it's a cute little battle trick that I like to do with the full moon. This didn't come up during my run at all, but another cute trick you can do with Rare Pup is like, let's say your opponent's attacking with an Celestial that has a higher attack than like a Void, or you just don't want your opponent to be able to redeclare an attack. If you full moon in the battle phase, so before the damage step, Rare Pup ascends into like a Void, and it no longer counts as being on the field. So the attacking Celestial, the attack becomes a direct attack. It attacks your Spirit deck. You're going to take like 1 or 2 damage depending on the Celestial. But your like a Void will come out completely unscathed. And assuming if they're only attacking with 1 Celestial, they won't be able to redeclare an attack on your like a Void anymore. So you can even go as far as like misenchanting the like a Void if you wanted to, where you just don't happen to have the Spirits for it. So that's a cute little battle trick you can do. Another thing that comes up sometimes on occasion is you have Cathno on field, and I've cited in the Boom Bat, so you just ascend the Boom Bat over the Cathno. Now you heal the Spirits off the Cathno. You can only heal the Lunar Spirits because the Solar Spirit's still on the board, but now you can disenchant the Thunder off the Boom Bat. And Boom Bat stays on the board for potentially another turn, you know. Your opponent at least has to get rid of Boom Bat, otherwise you could just re-enchant Boom Bat and use its effect again. So at least like this, where Lunar Aggro's already pretty strong, I just want to kind of put up a front where like my opponent doesn't have the breathing room in order to, you know, do whatever they want. You have Rare Pup that they gotta stare down. You have Spectaris that they gotta stare down. They have Norby that they have to stare down. And if any of these guys stick, whether they stick or they don't stick, having removal tools like Cryoblast is going to make it so that, you know, they don't have anything on their board potentially protecting their Spirit deck. So they're either going to have to take 1 damage from one of our little guys, or they're going to have to use some kind of backroll, you know, whether it's Snormy, Shield, whatever they choose to answer. I just want to make sure I'm in a position where every action I do makes my opponent have to react. And that's kind of like the whole thought process as to why I stayed on Lunar Aggro instead of trying a couple other decks. But thanks for listening to the deck profile. Check out some of the other ones, you know, coming out. And if you want like a more in-depth breakdown of what was happening with the deck and the whole tournament one, I'm going to have a longer video up on my main channel later in the future. Alright, see you folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe.